Welcome back to the Shed NV podcast. Coming up in this episode, we're back to the top of the table and we review the two matches that got us there. We say goodbye to club legend. We talk about John McGovern, who's got another Northern Ireland under 21 call up, and we have an exclusive interview with Ryan McGivern. So getting straight into what was a busy week, we'll take a look at the big headline, which was Newry back at the top of the table. Since we were last on the podcast, we've played 2 games, both away from home, both in artificial surfaces, and we've picked up 4 points out of 6. So we'll go to the furthest one back, which was Ards. I think I touched on the last podcast and said that we had hoped, I thought we were going to pull a performance out of the bag. I wouldn't say we necessarily did, but we got a result and we got a draw. If we had lost, we would have gone 5 points behind Ards. And after about 20 minutes, I thought we were in for a hammering, to be honest. But we pulled it back and probably could have won it in the second half. I think a draw was probably a fair result in the end.
Yeah, it definitely was. I thought Ards had improved a bit since they were down here. They played slightly different football from what I can remember. Away Ally was back out again. But no, I don't know what, a draw was definitely a fair result. In the second half, they also scored. It was just offside. It was pretty close, I thought. It was contentious whether or not it was offside.
As in that's Newry speak for he was miles on.
Yeah, he was miles on, I think. So I think a draw was fair enough, and I think both teams kind of felt that during maybe towards the end of the first half, but definitely in the second half, they both felt like a draw was a fair result, and that's the way it played out. But it was a good performance by us, and coming down the road knowing that there was no damage was done, that was the main thing. It would have been nice to win, but no damage was done.
Yeah, I think scoring the equaliser when we did, probably certainly against the run of play, was key. I think if ours had gone in at half time 1-0 up, probably would have been a different game second half. We sort of changed it around, and I don't know whether necessarily changed formation, but sort of shifted players around a wee bit at the start of the second half, and it worked better. The one thing I said to Darren probably in the week after that game was, I probably said to a few people, if Dingo had been playing that game, I think we would have won it. Yeah. He was suspended for that game, 5 yellow cards, and he says to me, probably all for dissent, as in slabbering. So yeah, unsurprising. But he wasn't playing. John McGovern was up front on his own, which he's capable of playing, but he was up against 2 sort of 6'4" centre backs, and one of them being Rory O'Hare, who he played with in the down under 20s team, and he just struggled to get a hold of the ball. It was just one of those nights where I think we maybe forget that he's a 19-year-old, and we expect him to pull performance out of the bag all the time. For a young lad to lead the line like that in such a big game was difficult for him, so it proved. Decky Carville come on later on, had a header cleared off the line, probably gave us more of a physical presence against 2 big centre backs. So I think, given how the first probably half an hour went, obviously we had Ryan McGivern out injured for that game as well, so there's one of your main defenders was unavailable. But given how the first 20 minutes went, half an hour went, to get out of it with a point, it was happy. But then on the flip side of that, you're looking, James Thielen had a couple of chances in the second half, one of them which he probably should have squared to Decky, who's unmarked in the 6-yard box. Thomas Lockard had one that went keeper save straight at the keeper, and then that Decky header that was cleared off the line. So we had certainly the better of the chances in the second half, but I don't think anybody was standing at the full time whistle going disappointed with the point.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And to have played Ards, who are your biggest competitors for the title, I think at the minute, and to be unbeaten against them and to take it 4 points is all you can really ask at the minute. Yeah,
and I think that sort of moves us on to the Harden Wolf Welders game. I suppose the first thing to mention is they're just back at the new Blanchflower Stadium. They played most of their games away from home this season, and you knew it was going to be a new ground and a nice ground, and we're also looking forward to seeing it. I was unbelievably impressed by it. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. It's new grounds can sort of look a bit, well, you could have done this or you could have done that. It's got all the facilities there. It's got 4 covered areas, 3 stands. It's ready to go if the Welders get promoted to the Premiership, and it's a massive credit on them. And it absolutely walks over 4 or 5, maybe 6 grounds in the Premiership, to be fair. I would love to see it when it's full, if they did get to the Premiership, obviously not at our expense, but super ground, and credit to them. And you have to say, we wish them all the best. It's good to see a club, particularly in this league, pushing and waiting so long to get their ground, and finally it coming to fruition.
Yeah, and I remember going down there a few years ago, and it wasn't a great ground, it wasn't a great trip or anything. It was a nice welcome, but it was really refreshing, and I was delighted to actually see that they had planned it so well. That ground that's halfway on the halfway line, the wee stand is perfect for away fans, and for the following that's in the championship at the minute, that's all you need. I think, you know, we went over there and we filled it up rightly, but it was a great week round, and again, what a great reception going up at half time. The tea and coffee, they're all very friendly. So yeah,
I mean, it was a blistering start. Dingo scores one with his left foot, which is, you know, probably his weaker foot, from outside the box. Now he did tweet me back and said that the keeper threw it in. Now I watched it back, and the keeper does go down the stages a bit, but it was one of those ones where it bounces off that, you know, it's a really good surface, an artificial surface, and it just bounces before the keeper. So, you know, I would rather, I think he's maybe doing himself a disservice there.
And the fact is, he picked it up near the touchline as well, and cut back inside.
Yeah.
And we've been saying for ages at games, it's a frustration of the fans. It's like, just shoot when you have the chance.
Yeah.
And he did, and we scored. So hopefully the boys learn from that and actually take a bit more chances in the future.
And then, you know, Dingo comes back and sets up James, plays the ball through for James for the second goal, which is, you know, I'm sure James will readily admit himself, he's probably been times earlier on in the season where he's missed those chances, or the keeper saved them, or, you know, he hasn't scored one way or the other, and he took it really, really coolly right in the bottom corner. You're 2-0 up after about 15 minutes, absolutely cruising. The difference Dingo made, as I touched on there, you know, I thought was phenomenal. They pulled one back, and it was probably disappointing in the fact, obviously disappointing to concede, but disappointing in the fact that it was sort of one ball over the top. I think Boiler got outpaced a wee bit, and it was a good finish, to be fair. And you're looking at it going, we're absolutely cruising this game, and now, you know, we're not playing with our hearts in our mouth a wee bit, but you're sort of thinking this is closer than it should be.
Yeah, well, it's kind of unnecessary pressure, as particularly, you know, the past few weeks we've talked about the run and stuff, and then when you're 2-0 ahead, you think, oh, this could be a 3 or 4 before half time. And again, we missed a couple of chances. John, I think at 1-0, put one over the bar, which was very close. Dingo obviously hit the crossbar from a free kick. You know, it could have been a lot more comfortable than it turned out to be, but to allow them back into the game, and it was quite, I thought he took it well, but it was unfortunate because they hoofed it and then hoofed it again, and then that put him through, so we're kind of caught out that way. But yeah, I was really, really impressed with the performance, and towards the end of the game, when we kind of invited them on a wee bit, it was just that confidence that our defenders have, and like, you're not really going to break us down here, so let them come on and we'll try to catch them. But no, it's when you're in the stands, it is a wee bit hard in your mouth with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing about it was, you know, obviously the good start and you know, getting and the quality of the 2 goals. But I think the way we managed the game in the last even 20 minutes, we had to make a lot of changes. Noel was taken off. I think he was on a yellow card, so he's taken off just in case he got a second. Engine got injured, but you were able to bring the likes of Ryan McGivern come back from injury. You were able to bring Sammy McAveen in the midfield. You were able to bring Decky on up front. Brian Healy come on as well. Thomas Lockhart was sitting on the bench, didn't get on. Now, may not be fully fit, but you know, that shows the strength and depth we have. It's the first time we've had a full squad available this season, and that was great to see. If we can have that squad available, you know, for the remainder of the season, you're in a really good position. But we managed the game out really, really well, and even though they're going to have a period of pressure, they had one header which flashed wide with about 10 minutes to go. But apart from that, every ball that was played in, we won, and then, you know, it wasn't just a case of it was being headed out or cleared from defence, and they were picking up in midfield. We were winning the second balls in midfield, which we didn't do against Ards, particularly in the first half. And we were able to break clear, and we were able to move the balls into the corner, and we were able to get the ball to Dingo to hold it up, just kill a bit of time. And it was a professional performance, and it was sort of the opposite to the first half of against Ards. So, you know, it was credit on the lads. It was a really good performance. You know, it wasn't a blow people away performance where we looked, you know, frighteningly good, but you know, we looked organised.
But I think we could have looked frighteningly good had even with John had a penalty claim just towards the end of the first half, which probably should have been a penalty. So, you know, you go in 3 or 4 up, and then it's, you know, it could be any score after that. But no, I was delighted, and I felt like Decky might not be happy with this, but he is playing that kind of cameo role of coming on up front, and he's doing well. He's holding the ball up, and he's making a real nuisance of himself. And as we said on this podcast plenty of times, everybody's going to be needed in a certain role this season, and that's his role at the minute, and I think he's doing it really well. Yeah.
And so I think, I mean, those are the 2 matches. We've obviously got Ballinamallard coming up this weekend. We owe them one. You know, weirdly, I don't know why we're playing them at home again before we played them away this season, but you know, it's just one of the anomalies of the fixture list. They obviously beat us 3-0 at home this season. It's the only time we've lost by more than 1 goal this season. So, you know, it's a cliche, and we'll ask Ryan about this later on, and Ryan will probably say, well, we don't owe them one, we have to put in a performance. But you know, as players do and managers do, but you know, as supporters, we do owe them one. You know, to get beaten 3-0 at home and soundly beaten, and it could have been more. We certainly owe a performance from that last day, and the good thing is we've been building towards a strong performance in the last two games. You know, the second half of the Arts game, the entirety of the Wellers game. So I'd be confident that we can certainly get a result out of Saturday.
Yeah, no, same here. And you know, when you go back to the top of the table as we'd had on Saturday, and you're driving back down the road and you're thinking, oh, this is great, and then you look at your fixture list and you've got Ballinamallard coming up, it's kind of one of those, oh, this is going to be a tough game. But now that we're in that position and we do have our noses in front, these are the games we really, really need to be winning.
Yeah.
And this is like the marker for the season now. Win it on Saturday, get them back for the one they did on us, and then push on from there.
Well, yeah, it's now a case of, you know, I think there's 6 points between, or 6 points maybe between the top six,
Yeah.
maybe not
It's
even.
amazing.
So
It's such a good league.
it's so tight. So I mean, one, obviously you can't afford any slip ups, but it's now a case of, right, well, let's make people chase us. You know, let's not have to worry about, you know, trying to claw games back and hoping other teams lose. Forget about everything else. Focus on ourselves. Go and put in performances like we have done for the last game and a half, and earlier in the season, at the start of the season. But we know we're capable of putting in. Do that this Saturday, and you know, I think if we can get a result, or certainly a win against Ballinamallard on Saturday, it completely puts a big X mark through that 3-0 defeat earlier in the season. You forget about it. You look to the most recent game, and you know, we have to make people start chasing us, and we have to assert our authority at the top of the table.
Yeah, and everything kind of went in our favour on Saturday as well. It's amazing, and I forgot what the Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff was like away, because it's been so long that we've had one. But standing there and watching results come in our favour, Ards were losing just up the road in Knockbreda, and Ballyclare lost as well, and I'm just thinking, this is great. You know, this is. I love that buzz of a Saturday, because the past few weeks we've been Friday nights and you're waiting for results coming in the next day. Yeah. So it was great. But one thing I suppose we'll have to shout out, and Darren actually texted the boys in the bus as well, was just the support of the away fans again. You know, at Ards it was fantastic, and it was equally as good at Harland and Wolf at the weekend. It was just, I think we've kind of, the fans have found their gear this year, and once they get to the ground, they're really making it their own, setting up in the corners and letting the players know that they're there. And I think it's helping. You know, in previous seasons we might go on to places and it was kind of hit or miss, but every week now there's a good atmosphere going away, and I think that's just creating a bit of a buzz and support. Decky McParlin said about 10 minutes ago, we need to get behind them here, get behind the boys and get them over the line, and we did, and it was great.
I think the key thing to add to that is, and you know, this is not me being harsh to the supporters by any chance, or by any stretch of the imagination, but we need to be more vocal at home. That's probably including absolutely. Me as well.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, it's like, you know, we go over and take over away grounds, and the boys are absolutely brilliant on Saturday and deserve all the plaudits that come their way. But we need to, you know, be getting down in the shed end and you know, willing the boys on, because it does make a difference. Sometimes, you know, if we can start the first 10-15 minutes flat, then that gets the crowd flat. And we've touched on this before, where the players need to do their bit to get the crowd going, but the crowd also need to do their bit to get the players going. So, you know, if we can even get, you know, 50% of what the supporters give away from home at home, then, you know, I think we're laughing. But just to move the conversation on, one thing that was hugely missed on Saturday, both on and off the pitch, was the absence of Mark Hughes. As we'll have seen, and I'm sure everybody will have seen, Hughesy has decided to part ways with the club. As I texted him the other day, his little legs wouldn't take him anymore in the championship, and I'm sure he'll know that's only a joke, possibly. But you know, he signed for Kerry Celtic in the Caribbean League, and we'll wish him the best of luck. But it would be absolutely remiss of us not to, you know, chat about him for a bit. He'll absolutely love us chatting about him.
We tried to get him on. We put a bid into his agent, but he just, now that he's away, he just didn't want to come back.
Yeah, he said Cleary Celtic wouldn't let him speak to other teams' podcasts. But you know, this is probably going to sound weird, and he will absolutely cringe at this, and I'll probably cringe watching it back. He's one of the few players that when he's left the club that I actually felt sad. Yeah. You know, yeah. It wasn't a case of it's a bit disappointing, but you know, there you go. I actually felt a sadness, which is odd. Not odd because, you know, he hasn't been a massive part of the club, but just, you know, it's football, it happens, and that's that's when the news came out, and that's what I texted him, and he said, look, that's football, that's just the way it is. He's a massive part of the club from, you know, even before the previous club went bust. And then he came back, went to Warren Point, obviously came back, and then he captained the club through hugely successful years. He scored in the second leg of the playoff, and I remember his celebration. It was just, that was the moment that you knew we were definitely getting promoted, and you could see just the the passion in his face. So it was, you know, it was sad to see him go, both on and off the pitch. He's the first guy that was there at every club event. He was the first guy who would always chat to the supporters. If he wasn't playing, he was standing in amongst the supporters, and a lot of the players do that, but Hughesy is just, you know, he'll be hugely missed at the club, and you know, just a really good lad, a really good family man, a really good, funny, angry but funny at the same time, and a hell of a footballer. But you know, we wish him all the best at Cleary Celtic.
Yeah, we're making it sound like a eulogy here. He's just gone up the road, but you know, I have to say about Hughesy, like, just to echo what you said, but he is one of those guys that if he wasn't playing, he was always there. And one of my favourite memories off the pitch of Hughesy, probably actually it's my favourite memory of Hughesy, was when Stute's ground got wrecked a few years ago. Do you remember? And they had to move. But in between, before they went to the Brandywell, we played at this tiny park up in Derry somewhere. It was like Orior Park, this tiny pokey place. Hughesy was injured that day, so he was standing on the sideline with me and Stephen Beattie, and Mark McCabe scored a last minute winner, and it kind of gave us the opportunity of, okay, we might win the league. And Hughesy, me and Beattie were running down the touchline to the players, and it just felt like he was one of the fans. And we always talk about that every time, like, me and him are out and see each other. I always mention Stute away, and that's what I text him on the day, Stute away. I'll never forget that, you know. Yeah, that just kind of summed up how passionate he was about this club. Yeah, he was a supporter, and you know, probably fortunate enough to be a player. You know, and you know, he certainly did the shirt proud, and you know, we would all give a right arm to be in the position he was in, and he certainly did it justice. So, yes, he's still alive, by the way. Just to let you know. But yeah, it was a sad day, because he did so much for the club, and look, he'll go down as a club legend. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And you know, as Darren said, and I think it was they all said, and as he knows, he's always welcome down here, and I'm sure he'll be down at a few games in the very near future. Yeah, the only thing I'm raging about is I sponsored his jersey this season, so there's no chance of getting that at the end of the year. Well, surely you're bound to get one of them now. I don't know. I think he's going to keep them. I'm gutted. Then just moving lastly, John McGovern again, who we touched on at the very start, has been included in the Northern Ireland under-21 squad again. You know, great achievement for him. He got sort of 10-15 minutes, I think, at both games against Russia and Spain the last time. So he's playing this week now. Unfortunately, obviously, that means he misses the Ballinamallard game this week. But you know, I think, as we said the last time, you don't mind. You know, yes, you'd want to see him playing in the Newry shirt, but when it's for those reasons, you know, you don't mind missing. I just hope he goes out and proves what he's capable of again. Yeah, I hope so. And like as we said, he's in there with boys who are playing for Premiership younger teams, and he's in there playing with boys from the SPL, so it's good that a boy from Newry is actually stepping up to that level, and we wish him all the best. And interestingly, Calvin McCurry, who plays for Ards, played against us a couple of Friday nights ago and was very, very good. He's been selected as well, so that's two players from the Championship. So it shows the strength that this league has. You know, it maybe doesn't get the media coverage it deserves, I don't think, and doesn't get the recognition from Premiership supporters of how good it is. So, you know, it's fantastic to see two players from the top two clubs being selected for Northern Ireland. So all the best luck, John. Don't get injured, but if you do, and don't come back with an ego, you know you won't. So coming up next in part 2 will be an exclusive interview with none other than Ryan McGivern.